you up on my phone in my headphones?
No. By the way, the mic's on.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, well,
I love when you give me warning on shit.
Well, it's kind of what happens sometimes. I clicked the button, but yeah, my voice. The mouse didn't follow the fingers. So, and cameras. Oh.
Hola.
Hi. Going for a little bit different format tonight. Gonna bring George on and kind of maybe do a little bit of a review over the last 12 months or so.
Woo!
And
That's a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of stuff has happened. But yeah. My name is Derek. I am the owner of Amavidi, and I make dildos every day. And this is...
I'm George. I am the silent partner.
There's nothing silent about your partnership. So, yeah, I been kind of wanting to do something a little bit different with the live stream lately, and I'm curious if this is going to work out. I keep seeing things I need to change. Because, like, well, it has my name down there, but it doesn't have your name anyplace.
I am George Romero, just like the zombie guy. Just think Night of the Living Dead. We'll be all good. What are you drinking tonight, Derek?
Tuaca.
Tuaca?
Yeah.
What is the flavor of Tuaca?
It's like a vanilla citrus brandy kind of thing.
Give me a sniff of that.
Watch this.
Smells like a Werther's.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of vanilla in there.
I'm having my normal Diet Dr. Pepper. Not sponsored by, but feel free, Diet Dr. Pepper, if you want to help this program out. Dr. Pepper Company, send me some. Because normally I'm on the keyboards and I have to, like, click and do all the things all at once. Are you... Where do you have the website listed?
I don't.
Oh my goodness.
I don't have the stats up right now.
You don't have anything going on.
I don't. I'm completely...
You're failing at life. I'm telling you.
So how has the last year been for you?
There's been a lot of snacks. See, I'm all about the snacks. We have Cheez-Its tonight. I put them in a bowl so that I would look classy. Instead of just rubbing some Cheez-Its, white cheddar Cheez-Its right out of the box. This last year has been a little bit of sorry, not sorry. Because we launched the site at the beginning of 2020. And for those of you who are not aware, as if we don't say it a million times every week, you can find us on our website at amavidi.com. I'm not even going to bother with the wah. If you don't know what comes in front of a freaking website.
Actually, you don't even have to use it for mine. You can just put amavidi.com and it'll go there. It's whatever.
Amavidi. And that translates from the Latin
Amavi, which is I loved, and vidi, which is I saw. So it's roughly kind of like I loved what I saw.
I saw what I loved. I loved what I saw. That's when you met me, right?
Yeah.
Took one look and said, "That's mine." Woo!
Let's just say you grew on me.
No wonder you like to shower so much.
All right, so we launched the website in 2020.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a little bit at the end of 2019.
It was built by the end of 2019. I think we may have launched it like right before the holiday.
Oh, we did Etsy right before the holidays.
Yeah.
And then our website launched in
January.
Yeah.
So Etsy was kind of like, we had it up, we had it as an experiment, but then the website launched January 2020. We had no idea that the world would shut down, and that somebody would scream on the news, I work for Amazon, people don't need dildos, they're not a necessity item. And yet, how wrong he was. I still remember that. And I felt horrible for all of the people working in warehouses and everything. I had coffee shooting out of my nose, laughing so hard because we accidentally had the business really start to take off. We're not expecting the growth that we had.
No, not at all. I mean, it just went crazy starting in March of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And by April, May, it was doing very nicely. And then it just kind of held steady for the last 12 months.
So it's been exciting. In that time, we have managed to form a couple of partnerships. One with Uberlube, who is nice enough to have us send us samples that we can enclose with all of the sales. And it's good stuff.
Yeah, I actually like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
not only a sampler, but I'm also a user. Sampler. Whatever.
Then we have Rodeo, who has taken on and started carrying our products, which I'm really happy about. I've loved their designs forever. I've seen them.
They're so cute because then it's like running around in like little swimsuits or little like briefs or little shorts or something, and you're like, hello. And they're bright and colorful and fun, and it's not like I don't hear like a Frankie Goes to Hollywood kind of noise looking at like, whoa, you're like, that's Al Pacino. But anyway, if Al Pacino joined Frankie Goes to Hollywood, sorry, younger crowd, Google it.
I saw, it was on TikTok, and there was a sound that will forever divide Gen Xers from everybody else. Yeah, that one.
I saw that video, and yeah, the younger one was like, and it was like, it wasn't even a millennial, it was like Gen Z or Gen TMI, as I call it. Gen TMI, I do not need to know everything about you. I love you, and even millennials, I always hear this argument of like, what if I got to hide? And I'm like, why do I care? At the same time. Oh, look at you typing away. What are you typing?
I just said hi.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Hi. I'm normally over there just typing away and filling in all the things you said.
Yeah. She's always been a part of the show, even if it's been behind the scenes.
Yes.
So
I'm really the HBIC.
If you don't know what that is,
kids, Google it.
Yep. So by the end of last year, we had some decent success, and then what happened? Oh, we moved. We moved to the first studio.
Yeah,
from the
that
first
was
studio.
in September, October.
Yep.
And you outgrew it.
Yep.
We started. Oh my goodness, Beefster! The Beefster alert. Fiona has gone crazy. We gave her a giant cardboard box, and her and Kai are now fighting over the giant card. I think Kai's just sniffing it, and Fiona's getting terrified. For those of you who don't know, Fiona is a bitch. She's such a bitch. She's gonna be 6.
Oh yeah.
This year she's gonna turn 6.
Crazy.
And she's 6 pounds of sass, let me tell you.
And a 5-pound package. So we moved to the new studio in September-ish of last year, and then
it was 2 separate spaces, and you had a large space and a small space, and you outgrew the small space within a couple months. So like November, you moved the small space into a larger space.
Yeah.
And then February was when the ice storm came, and there was a shutdown for a couple weeks.
Oh yeah.
But
February.
Everything like ramped back up so hardcore that even with a 2-week shutdown, You outgrew the space already.
Yeah. Let's see. In May, we took possession of a new studio. This one's about 1,200 square feet now. And we moved in June 1st. And yeah, we had it built to our specifications, and we got everything in there that we wanted. So hopefully this will be home for a few years.
Yeah. It has a really good bathroom. The last one, the bathroom, I have to say. We started out in 300 or 400 square feet.
Yeah.
And we're there for a few years until it just became completely untenable.
Well, actually, there was that first space that was on the second floor.
That's true. That was like 250, 300 square feet.
Oh, well, I only had part of it.
Yeah. No, I mean, your part of it was like 250 square feet.
Yeah.
And then you moved into about 400 square feet. And then more like 800 up to 1,000. Now we're about 1250, something like that.
Yeah.
So that you can save me some rehearsal space.
Yes. So we got moved into the new studio this last month. We're having some growing pains, and we're trying to find everything, because once you pack everything up and move it, you never know where it is.
That's right, because you put it somewhere safe so that you wouldn't lose it.
Yep. And here's the problem is I didn't pack 75% of it. My employees did.
I still want to know where the wheels are.
We found them.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Put them in the thing.
Yeah.
So I have this I have like this vintage accounting teller station that is super perfect because it's got a slant top on the top that you can lift up and store things in. So perfect for like the silicone pouring and everything. And it was on wheels because I think furniture should be on wheels.
We actually have a laptop, and we have two of those, but we have one of them in the silicone room that has a laptop on it, and it's really handy because we can do all of our calculations on the laptop, and it's right there, and it's ready to go. And actually, there's a space underneath where
it has little cubbies. That's why I bought them first place. Were fixtures in a retail store that I had, where we sold socks and stationery, because when you think of socks, you think of stationery.
That was 20 years ago.
No, that wasn't. The first one was 20 years ago. The socks and stationery store was...
Lulu Fabu was 20 years ago.
Yeah. Bicklesworth was like 7 years ago.
Yeah, well, 7 or 8. Yeah.
Because people kept saying, open another store.
Yeah.
And I did, and we ran that for a few years, and then it was like, me and my partner in that business, we went,
I'm done.
Let's try something else now.
Yeah. It was probably one of the best amicable breakups I've ever seen.
Yeah, there was no breakup about it. It was just like, let's just shut down the store and do something else. It's okay, sure. What if? And then every once in a while I just get a bug up my ass and say, let's start another business. Because where did we get that entrepreneurial thing?
Because we were scrappy. We were poor.
Scrappy.
I mean, you remember what the rent was on the apartment in the basement? The basement apartment over on Cherry Street?
Was it $150? $200?
It was right around $150 to $200.
Oh my God, they're called garden apartments. You've got like, I think we had 2 windows that were at the ceiling, one in the bedroom and one in the living room.
And they were literally, 8 inches tall.
One faced a wooden fence, and then the one in the living room had an overgrown bush in front of it. So it was like a little cave in there, and everything was like concrete.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Remember the shower? Yeah.
It looked like they put you on Halidol or something. Like, this is where they send the quiet room people in the kooky pokey. It was scary.
So we've always been scrappy. And we've always been kind of, I don't know, what's the word? Ingenious? Ingenuitive? And
rebellious?
Yeah, that too.
Juvenile?
A little bit.
I am the juvenile one because we're I'm not a good rule follower. He is so good at corporate.
I am.
He is.
I can do corporate.
Around this one. He is so good, and he can like speak the corporate speaky stuff. I can. I know the buzzwords. I can do the nonprofit buzzwords for sure, and appear completely socially acceptable.
But we've always had kind of a rebellious streak. My dad was self-employed. Your dad was self-employed. Basically, we've had people around us who have always been kind of independent and
terrible examples
of how to live in the real world.
That's why it took me so long to get degrees, because all of the successful examples I had around me had managed to do things without going to any kind of college or upper schooling at all. A lot of continuing education. People think just because you are an entrepreneur that means you blow off any kind of education. Actually, no, not at all. That means you have to be much more invested in education, I think.
And not even it doesn't have to be formal education.
Right. Like with a degree, you go to college, you go and you get your degree, and everybody goes, "Oh, you have a degree, that's so nice." Nobody gives a shit about your grade point average or anything like that. Nobody has ever even asked to see my degree. They just, "Oh, did you have one? Okay, cool." But there were some continuing education CEUs, as they're called, that they asked for from me. It was nothing compared to what we have to do running our own business.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm constantly learning about, not to go completely into it, but all the shipping information all the shipping regulations for the EU, which are different than the UK, which Germany is specific that to ship into Germany, you have to buy credits within their recycling system for every box that you ship into Germany. Having to keep up with tax information and
having to go through all of the stuff on the IRS website.
But luckily we have a good accountant, and he's helped us a lot. We've talked about that in the past, how there are certain people that you need to have. You need to have a good accountant, you need to have a good attorney, and wasn't there another one? A good priest?
Doctor?
I don't know.
You do not have a good medical professional when you're doing something like this. Because I have found that talking to my doctor about this, and he's very aware of what we do, and has had me show him things on the website, and talked about how interesting the design is and how working with different anatomies. And I'm like, cool, I think she noticed. How are you doing tonight?
Hello. We got Meg the Cool.
Hello, Meg.
She's on Twitter. No, Twitch.
Twitch.
Yep.
They're all they're all something. I don't know.
Let's see. Oh, we've got it going into Periscope, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook.
We're everywhere.
Yeah.
We're experimenting with Clubhouse too. That one's interesting because it's like being on like an old school party line.
Yeah.
It's like if you combined AOL with a party line. Remember AOL? Oh my god.
Yeah.
And the chat rooms there. I'm telling you, if you I know this is an old fogey, like when I was your age kind of thing. But if you think that being on the interwebs is misogynistic now, woo!
ASL.
AOL in like 1990. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yep.
You couldn't even admit you were a girl.
No. But although I did sign on as a girl a few times, just to mess with guys. So we moved into the new studio last month. We've kind of been working towards something, and I don't know what that is. It's always been kind of like, making
Mm-hmm.
this business Amavidi into something that is almost a little bit of a public service. I always look at it as kind of serving a community
Mm-hmm.
and a way of helping people and making people comfortable with sex.
What was it Linda said? Everyone has the right to pleasure.
Yeah. Mhm.
When you had Linda on a while back, that was something that really stuck with me, because when we've talked about accessibility to our products, having a range of price points and things like that, and choices that they can go with, and also being willing to refer them to other makers for what they're looking for, because everyone has the right to pleasure. Speaking of other makers, yeah, Linda is another maker.
Paladin Pleasures.
Paladin Pleasures, and this stuff is so cool, and like all the glow in the dark. Hello, Linda. I just wanted to come down to Dallas and eat barbecue with you. But that's another thing, is that community of makers, which you were involved with, the 918 makers before we were doing this part of the company. You were doing things before that, other things that got you involved with them, and then they've been completely unfazed by this.
Yeah, 918 makers. 918 is the area code here for Tulsa.
Don't hate the 918.
Yeah. But 918 makers was a nice little group of folks that were kind of stepping into the world of being self-employed and having their own business. And
everything from polymer clay, woodworking, ironworking, like all the things.
And we met at the Fab Lab in Tulsa. Fab Lab is a fabrication laboratory. It's kind of a big studio space where you can play with 3D printers, shop bots, vinyl cutters, laser cutters.
They have mills and stuff there too. Yeah.
Fab Lab Tulsa is where I got my start.
Yes, and they're getting ready to move into a bigger space. So, Did you buy our brick yet?
I thought you bought that.
That is.
But you bought a brick for something.
I bought a brick for something. I brought a brick for the Outsiders house.
Okay. Because the Outsiders was filmed here.
Yes.
Yep.
Because S.E. Hinton is, well, not because S.E. Hinton is from here, but I mean, it was filmed here. So, hello, Francis Ford Coppola. And S.E. Hinton and all of those other people. So, yeah.
So my question for you is, how has this journey been for you? How has it impacted you? What has it changed for you?
You know, the interesting thing that I have found is, and this might be COVID adjacent, it might be COVID adjacent, and it might be theater adjacent. I am not known for being shy on the subjects about which I speak to someone with. We speak with someone. I will not avoid things like death or religion or politics or money or any of the things, or sex. But I find I've been able to put other people at ease more quickly with talking about verboten, kind of taboo subjects. Because when they ask, what else do you do with your time? Like, oh, I'm kind of a professional side gigger. I do this and this and this, and I do copy editing, and I run a theater company, and we make sex toys, and I'll, go run errands for it. And they're like, oh, back up. And I'm like, oh yeah, but stuff it's like, I wanted something fun. I wanted something that you could laugh about, and I didn't want like just beige, raw. You know, I was like, I want pink and I want glitter and I want and I like stripes and things. And I just wanted to make it approachable and friendly and fun, as far as not just the aesthetic design, but the colors and just the whole thing. And so people, at first they giggle, but then they just start asking questions. Like, what's it like? And I mentioned, I don't talk about the sexuality of it. I talk about designing for anatomies. I talk about the vegan pigments that, you know, we talk about shipping internationally, because they're like, do people get these? I say, yeah, we ship all over the world. They buy them from all over the world. So then they become interested in the things that we actually talk about on here, as opposed to just thinking of it as this salacious thing.
I found that I'm much more open to talking about it, but I find myself, I give people warnings, in a sense. Like, this may be something that this has to do with sex. Is that something you're comfortable talking about?
I start out saying, we make things out of silicone or grown-ups.
Yeah.
They're like, ooh, you mean you meant? I'm like, yes, yeah. And then there's a giggle, and they're like, oh my gosh, I've never met anybody that does that before. So I get to be part of their instant bucket list.
Yeah. And, you know, most people are very receptive to it. And I don't know if that's, you know, that Southern politeness.
Are you talking about passive aggressiveness?
Yes. There's that Southern politeness that people do that, I just couldn't do that. I could.
Wow. That's so interesting. I don't get that, though. I don't say, like, that's so interesting or bless your heart or anything. In fact, was it last weekend? I went and had, like, brunchy snacks with my tanties, with my white tanties. Because most of my brown family, I'm sorry. So there were like 5 of them there, in their 60s and 70s, and they were asking what I'd been doing and what else do we make at the studio besides some of the acrylic things that we make and some of the other products. And I said, well, you know, we work with silicone too. And they're like, oh really, what do you do with it? And I said, you know, we make, you know, toys, things for girls and boys and whoever. And one of my tanties, she goes, oh, you design dildos. What kind? How big are the batteries? And I was like, whoa! And I said, well, we don't have any models with batteries as of yet. She goes, oh, everything I use have batteries. So let me know when you do. I'll test it out for you.
How many times has that happened where a family member or a close friend has asked for or has volunteered?
Not so often that they've volunteered to test, but they have often asked, do you test all these, or do you test these yourself, or do you show these to people before you sell them? And I say, yes, we have a testing group. And they're like, how do you get people who want to test it? I'm like, it's pretty easy. You know, trade them some stuff for services, and you talk to me. Hello, it's my puppet. I love the dough because I always use them as puppets. I'm talking to them like, hello, how are you? I'm fine, how are you? Hi there. It's just the 3 of us here just hanging out. Like, I use them as puppets half the time. It's horrible.
So what's the most uncomfortable conversation you've had to have? No names.
I thought the one with the tanties, because I hadn't connected with my extended family in several years for unrelated reasons that had nothing to do with me even, or them. So this is the first time I'd seen so many of them at once since I was like 9, 10 years old. I thought as soon as they asked that, it was going to be like, should I tell them? They already know I have a theater company, okay, and they didn't make assumptions there. Okay, I'll just say something, and then they just like, oh yeah. And as soon as the other one said, I'll test them out for you, then another one said, oh, what's the website? I want to look at them. And then they brought it up, and they're like, that's so cute. Like, you get the, that's cute, that kind of voice.
But what was the most uncomfortable? I think I'll go first.
Yeah.
That was the. I don't even know who they would be to me. Well, there was a family member who had kids, who was a teenager, and they were starting to come into their sexuality, and how do you have that conversation with somebody about their teenager's sexuality? Yeah.
Well, it was uncomfortable for you as a dude.
Yeah.
Because you were
definitely, my situation was totally different.
Right, because you were talking about a female teenager. I spoke to this same person, and we just riffed on it for like an hour, and it was no big deal. We laughed, but yeah. So I don't know. Do I have how many nephews do I?
Any?
Yeah. Duh.
Who?
Anyway,
oh.
So yeah, like if I had a nephew, well, and then, my friends' kids are all my nieces and nephews too. So yes, I have. That's why I was like, how many do I have? We can always send you for that, because Tonti George is not going to be having that convo with them. I haven't really had a lot of uncomfortable ones. I think I can't think of anything offhand.
Okay.
Because I'm such a loose cannon to start with. So,
yeah.
I should have just started this off with, I'm sorry for whatever it is I'm about to say because of who I am as a person. I don't have a lot of filters. I look to Derek for the filters. You're good with that. See, this is the corporate, like, and then I'm salty.
Yeah.
Salty, sweet. Salty, sweet.
Well, who's hot and who's cold? Do you remember working at the movie theaters, and there was the saying, you want something salty, something sweet, something hot, something cold?
Yours was a different kind of movie theater than mine that I worked at. That was old school. Like, what do you want? Like, don't shoot hot tamales onto the screen because they stick to it. It was old school.
No, yeah. Mine was the one in San Diego.
And
it was a big chain at the time.
No, I had a gigantic twin.
Yeah.
Like 2 screens. Can you imagine 2 screens in a theater now? But the screens were huge.
Yeah.
It's like the screens that now you have to pay like $15, $20 to get to see on that screen. And those were our 2 screens every day. And I lived on popcorn and corn dogs.
So what do you wish that people knew about this world? Making dildos. Being sex positive. What do you wish
thought you were going to say
knew?
being sex pots. I'm like, thank you. That a sense of humor is paramount. Like, I use humor a lot, and it's almost like the vitamin in the Twinkie thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you put a vitamin in a Twinkie, there's still a vitamin in there, right?
Yeah.
Just because you wrap it in fluff, there's still a vitamin. Once I get them to laugh about it, then they just relax. And because of my bluntness, I have been called trademark charmingly human.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping that. Because I am not a politically correct person, but I try and be very emotionally intentional in what I say. That way, if I'm talking really messy to someone, then we know that my intentions are good. Putting others at ease with that humor has really been gratifying, because I had a conversation with one friend who was, I don't want to say completely inexperienced, but quantity wise,
Okay.
was much less experienced, and I gifted them one so that they could just, like, have it around, because they said, oh, it's pretty, and I was like, okay, this is, yeah, I like the colors on it, and it was shiny, and we had some metallics and some things, and since then they'll want to see the new designs, and they'll make comments on, how they look or how shiny they are or whatever, and they also, they're willing to broach other subjects too if they're like, okay, this might be TMI, but so really being able to laugh about just how ridiculous all of it can be.
Yeah. Actually, I had a conversation. I had an exchange with somebody on TikTok over the last couple days. And she had said, and I say she, this person said, is it ironic that I want to buy one of these even though I'm asexual?
I know, right? This person had never used anything like that, and they wanted it just to kind of have as like an art object.
And actually, that's kind of what I explained to this person, was that people who are asexual, gray sexual, whatever, can be avid collectors.
Oh yes, absolutely.
I mean, and just because, you're not using it for whatever, then it doesn't mean that you can't appreciate things that are beautiful.
Oh, like, I don't take the pots, right? Neither one of us does. My old one. I don't take the pots. Do you remember the documentary we watched about glass blowing marijuana pipes?
No.
Yes.
Which one?
Okay, he'd watched so many. He'll just, if you put a documentary up and say...
I can say I've watched a few about glass blowing.
Yeah. But one of the blowers' specialty was pipes. And they were just like really amazing art pieces that I could see having around. Of course, I'd probably use them to, like, I don't know, hold incense or flower or just
that'd be great vases.
They used to have pen holders on a desk. I could use it for that. Figure out how to blow bubbles out of it. But just the artistry in it, I could totally appreciate. So I could see why people who are not into the dills might like to have the dills around. And I think that knowing that sort of a thing has also inspired us on some other elements, like what does the base look like, and how can the bore go, and things like that, and some design elements that we've worked on as well.
Yeah. But it's been interesting having those conversations with people, and being able to talk to people about sex and talk to them about enjoying themselves without it getting weird.
Yeah, because often the conversation leads to anatomy, science, marketing, communication. It leads to completely other different things. And then
do you think that's because they're uncomfortable with the toys themselves and they want to have the conversation around it?
Oh no, they do. When I say talking about anatomy, they ask me about the design and how did you come up with this, and I'm like, okay, because the inside of this person is like this or this, and they're like, well, what about with boys? Do boys like this one, or do boys? They ask, which ones do the boys like, or which ones do people who do anal play in general like, and which ones like do people use for this or that, which ones are the best in a harness. So they think structurally, and I think it's because I do have a lot of friends that are artists, and even if they're shy about talking about sexuality, they're not shy about talking about creative impulses and the creative process. So that gives them an outlet to where they can talk about both. But the thing is, instead of thinking in terms of STEM, they are very much thinking in terms of STEAM and thinking about how, like, technology and art work together. Which is something in this last year that a lot of artists have been
before you go
forced
too
to do.
far, redefine STEAM versus STEM.
Okay, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math.
Okay, and what's STEAM?
STEAM is those, but the A is for arts.
Okay, and now this has to do with educational programs.
Right. Generally, it's in terms of educational programs. In the real world, science, that's all cool stuff. I don't see that STEM unto itself is realistic. After speaking with several former students from when I was doing arts education, they said their troubleshooting skills went up so much, and problem solving skills and all the things you hear about the arts, about how creativity can help you in more hard sciences. So I don't think STEM is a realistic view of the working world and the actual world. I think, some, like, you might think, oh, that's great for school, but you also need to have preparation for the world in school.
I was listening to somebody that I really like who talks about creativity and business, and it's Chris Do, who runs The Future. They're on YouTube. They've got a website.
Here he is, right here. My name's Chris Do. It's called The Future.
I think the funniest part is that he shaved his head.
Oh, there I am. Look at my little shaved head. What were you going to say about me, Derek?
So there was Chris Do. He was talking about how ingenuity and creativity are messy. And I think about that versus science, technology, engineering, and math. They're very not messy.
Right.
And
the world, life is such a ridiculous place to live that you need a little way to, like, make some goodness. Like, I'm really interviewing a sex toy right now. Like how is that what you said? What do you think about that mess? Well, you tell him, Derek.
Oh, put it down. Put that down. I don't want to talk to a dildo. But I think it's interesting how, STEM is very structured, and that the arts bring something into it that bring creativity to the table, that bring depth of thinking as opposed to process thinking. And it pulls people in from different directions. And by different directions, what I'm talking about is that the way they approach problems is different. So.
And it is vice versa. People think, if you're artistic, you're not into all of the stuff. No. I think in terms of geometry all the time. When it comes to staging, and planes and levels and stuff. It's all 3D and stuff.
So what do you think? I mean, what do you think about the future? It's for a year and a half now.
Yeah. We started experimenting probably about 2 years ago, until I finally just, like, slapped you in the face with one of them and said, either put it up on a site or no, or just stop it. Stop making all of these. They're everywhere. Yep. It's like a field of dills. If you build it, they will go. If you pour it, they will come. I really want to look at. Of course, I'm always going to keep looking at color and color combos, but I've really been interested in textures And that might be a tactile thing of like, I'm just now peopling again. I went to the theater last night.
Wow. With people.
With people.
And people on a stage.
Like everyone live in there, and just the viscera of that. And like, there was like, once we got outside, people were like hugging and saying hi and doing the whole, it's been it's good to see you. Even if they're not hugging, they're like, it's nice to see you again. But that touch, human touch gets you, but all sorts of textures will get you. So I think experimenting not just on the current products that we have in the dills, but new things and the non-dills, like the paddles and things. I know that we've started to experiment with texture on that.
Yeah, I really want to get the suede paddles out. I really like those. The thing is that they're so surprising because they make a really great sound, but they're so not intimidating. They're
And they
not
kind of
really
make
aggressive.
you feel like, and it's not a bow chicka bow. It's more like, hey.
This is Fiona.
Love you. I love you, you little monster. So maybe we can talk about next time some of the like color and texture and how they go together.
Okay.
Because I know that we've talked about some unfortunate color combinations that we've done, aka the corn cob.
Yeah. There's also that kind of pukey, greenish, goldish, brown.
Oh my god.
Giblets that looked like a zombie.
It was a pox on your hole, is what I call that.
Yeah.
This looks like a pox upon your hole. And it was like zombie phallus. In the worst way.
So
I do want to talk about, I know we often talk about color and people ask us a lot about color and how do we make color choices. But I think the mixture of texture and color and how those interplay with each other, next time we get to an artistic conversation versus a more like money or interwebs or science and chemistry and all that, then let's definitely get on it. I do want to talk about, I know you don't like think about this much, but like what it's like to have a home office in addition to the studio.
Yeah, there are definitely upsides and downsides to that one. And I mean, I think that we can do a conversation about that at some point.
Yeah, because I'm excited because now we have some space set aside for me to have a little room there, so I'm not only home officing, because working from home is terrific, but I think co-working spaces provide a little bit of get out of the house and get away from Fiona stepping on my keyboard and screaming at me that I need.
It's a pretty color. Yeah. So things I don't know if I've told you about this, but things I've been working on this week have been embedding vibrators. And
I didn't know we were going to talk.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, we're talking about the future, where we're headed.
Modifications. We're doing body. Let's say just call them body modifications to certain models.
Vaculock connections. There's still some troubleshooting that needs to be done. Double-ended stuff and dual density stuff.
Yeah, the dual density is coming along really well.
Yeah, those are the top my top projects right now.
You sent those out on Patreon, right?
I did.
Mm-hmm. Is it Patreon or Patreon?
I've always thought it was Patreon
Like
because
patron.
it's patron.
But I hear people say Patreon too.
Oh,
Go with Patreon. Yeah, how would we just say Patreon? Patreon.
Maybe they're from Wisconsin. Patreon.
Patreon. Patreon. If I just sing it, then it's like it can be any pronunciation that you want.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Bran Flakes. Bran Flakes is
Hi,
here.
hi. What's up? Oh my gosh. You were so laughing at me.
Yeah. We got Bran Flakes. This is
I
George.
usually chat with Bran Flakes via keyboard. And so hey. So you can go back and watch and hear me ramble. Because he has to put up with it all the time, and I know where you live.
Yeah, and I can't get away from it.
I took all my pills.
So, Bran Flakes, if you had a question for George, what would it be?
Oh,
I'm
goodness.
curious. Yeah, we'll take some questions from the peanut gallery.
It's the Cheez-It Gallery, thank you.
Yeah. I'm always curious how, the outside world sees us.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is normal to me. This is my world.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You say this when you're like, this is normal.
Yeah. This is normal for me. TikTok. You're not a TikTok person.
Mm-mm.
You don't like it.
The user interface is ugly.
It's a little bit rough, but in the end, what's been interesting for me has been how do you connect with the community that you're trying to get to. Now, I'm coming at that from the perspective of somebody who is trying to reach a community, who's got a product and I want to sell it, but not that I want to sell it. I don't want to do sales, but what I want to do is I want to connect to that community and share what I do.
Well, and I think that's why it's working, is because it's not about that. It's about connection for you. Now, as far as how to connect, the best advice I've ever heard is to be genuine and show up.
Yeah.
Show up as you.
That's awesome.
I hate TikTok.
Once you have an
It's
audience.
just full. Okay. Okay. See, Brand's talking to me. I have a question. Have a question.
I'll be back in a second.
Oh. Ooh, it's takeover. YouTube takeover. I hate TikTok. It's just full of just not something I wish to see. Second the opinion. Thank you. Yeah, it's just like the only TikToks I ever see are ones that other people have curated for me, and they're just like, okay, this one is funny. It's just like any YouTube videos. They know I want to see something super short and that'll just surprise me and make me laugh until I snort. Why do you not like being on camera? I love being on camera, actually. When this AMA was started, when the stream was started, he was sneaky about it. He didn't even tell me he was doing it at first. That way he wouldn't get any pressure from me, the performer in the house. And then a few weeks into it, he's like, hey, I'm doing these live streams and this and that. And he started to show me a little bit more about the technical side of that. And then the reason why texting is because he started getting people asking questions. And Derek is sometimes a bit singular-minded when it comes to tasks.
I have to focus.
Yes. We're both terrible multitaskers. We're good at fast sequential tasks. Like I have to do this. But people who try and do this, we are not those people. I realize that the human brain is not engineered that way. Like, if you think you're a multitasker and you think you're good at it, then you probably also think that you can fly and you're invisible, all of the things. but I'm good at multitasking at times. Yeah, at times I am, for maybe like at times for like 3 seconds, and then my brain goes. It's like that emoji.
Yeah.
So he asked if I would sit in on a session and help him out. And the next thing I knew, I was running the chat side of things and putting up the website. You notice there's no website up tonight. You're failing at live. Copy paste. And filling him in on when people are asking questions. And I am a super dongle creator. I am invincible. I am strong. I make dongs. I am invincible.
Can I type this?
Look at him. He's doing the whoa 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 and everything.
I don't know if those links actually come through on anything, but
They do.
okay.
They do. I've seen it because I'm usually the one monitoring. And like when we had technical problems, I'd be like, reset, gotta reset. We're gonna rebuild. As we say in tornado country, we're gonna rebuild.
Yeah. So I was talking about TikTok.
You will
earlier.
see me around more and more.
It's kind of been crazy lately. We've got almost 40,000 followers on TikTok.
How did that happen?
It just kind of went crazy. Most of our videos are hitting at least 20,000 views, and we have a few that hit. When I posted today, or yesterday, 235,000 views.
Don't brag. People feel bad.
No, I'm sorry. But look at that.
Because people like get all wrapped up in like social media self-esteem. Not me, because I don't do like personal social media. Neither one of us really does personal social media. I think this is personal enough. Personally, like unfiltered us is pretty personal. I just kind of been lacking recently for like the majority of the time. You know, this is something actually I was thinking about is, I do my little shows with my little theater company that is so small that the IRS doesn't even want me to file taxes. They just want me to like verify I'm still poor. Like Howling Hole, she does. Ooh, okay, that'll be more for us to look at. You know Howling Hole?
No, I know the name. I can't remember what their work looks like.
I am. Oh, how the hell? I know. The show I saw last night. It was another show about Greenwood and 1921 and all that. And I just came off of working on one of those shows, so I was like, let's go see another one. It was so good that I went to some of the people in the cast and I was like, I hate you, which is kind of the ultimate compliment because it means that I am envious and I want to do things like, and I wish I had been part of it. And it's all of the like, I wish to idolize you a little bit and pay homage. Oh my God, is that a bunny? That's so cute. Howling Rabbit Hole.
I'm gonna see if I can share the browser real quick.
Love you.
Does that work? Yep.
Yeah. But I was very envious of the show that I saw. Oh my gosh, it's like HR Puffin stuff. Google it, kids. And I thought, why does the stuff I do even matter? Is it total crap? And who cares if I do it? Okay, harsh truth. Who cares if I do it? In the grand scheme of things, does it matter if I do it? No. That is the harsh truth that I have to face. Does it matter to me if I do it? Yes. I don't have any choice but to do it in my brain. I don't, it may not be a full-time thingy. And there I am. Oh, okay. That was my Twitter. There was my Twitter. Oh, me. something we ran across. With it, I like sex toys and sex toy accessories. Oh my god! You. Um, is it that one?
I don't know. But
Um, but yeah, I find it is something that if I could do something more, I am subtle orgasms. Isn't that great to hear
Yeah.
out loud? I am subtle orgasms.
yeah, that's this one.
Yeah.
Oops, just
Oh yeah, I've seen. Okay, yeah, I've seen some of your drawings of this. This is super cool. Hello. Oh, that's like a Pokemon. It does. It reminds me like the top is like hello, little eyes and stuff. If I could find something reasonable to do, I know, then I would probably do it. But like crazy brain makes me just say you've got to do these other things too. Not only that, but if you're gonna do them, you have a responsibility to other artists to help mentor them and train them and lift them up and exalt them and show them off to people. And oh, what a nice drawing! I like it, kitty cat. I have that responsibility. That is so cool. I love that. To other people, I will get the sentence out. Stop showing me cute things. Here comes the sun. Do 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 do. I thought I was a flower, alas, I was just a butthole. That's so Vonnegut-esque. Well, I have a responsibility to other artists. That's what I'm saying. To support them. Apparently so much that I can't even finish a sentence. That I have to love on this so much. I have no idea what was happening before that. Oh, it's the what does it matter if I do this stuff or not?
There's a question in the chat from Drew. Question about the vacuum lock. Should this community come up with an open lock to work out for all fantasy dongle makers?
Ooh.
There's a couple on Thingiverse.
Have you seen them yet?
I haven't. Here's the thing is that while you can't, I think the word vacuum lock is trademarked. You can't, so you
Drew
can't.
said backlock.
Yes, yeah, but vacuum lock is the trademark name.
Well, you could call it sucky lock.
You could name it anything you wanted to.
This is where I come in.
But technically all it is a hole in silicone. How can you patent that? You really can't.
Why don't you just call it a belly button? Oh.
Now let me finish my thought while you chew on that.
Sorry.
But technically all it is a hole inside of the silicone. And it's a friction fit. So there's nothing patented.
Like a finger trap?
Yeah, it's kind of like a finger trap. It's snug enough that it sticks and it won't just come right off.
Okay.
And literally, it's just a friction fit. Should the community come up with an open lock to work out for all fantasy dongle makers?
Like an open source kind of thing.
Yeah, but I think that's more of that's solving a problem that doesn't exist. You can come up with some great solutions for it, but I don't think the problem really exists because the design itself really can't be patented. The only thing it can be patented, the only thing about it is the trademark of the term vacuum lock. But the actual physical
suction,
it's not even suction. Technically, I think so. I was at Patricia's the other day, Not to give a total shout out, but I was at Patricia's the other day, and I was looking for a Vaculock harness and a Vaculock toy because I wanted to see how they work together.
Mm-hmm.
And technically, the Vaculock toy has ridges on the inside that lock into ridges on the harness part.
Have ruffles?
Um,
Ruffles have ridges.
They were ridges, but not
Google
ruffles.
It, kid.
But I went ahead and bought the Vaculock harness so that I could test my designs against that. And I didn't put any ridges on the inside, and it worked just fine. So all I have is well, it's literally just a hole in the base of a toy,
Mm-hmm.
and it fits right on the Vaculock connection. So it's the open lock or something like that. It's solving a problem that doesn't really exist for me.
I mean, pressurized suction is because science. I have no clue what the hell he's talking about either.
Let's see. I will Vaculock.
Vulcan headlock.
Images.
Vulcan headlock.
All right, so this is the male end of a Vaculock.
Mm.
So basically there are these ridges, like over here you can kind of see, oops, I don't know if my mouse will show up on here. There it is. But here you can see those ridges that kind of create something to grab onto.
Okay.
Somebody has a version on Thingiverse.
Yeah.
But all it is something that goes into a hole that the silicone kind of compresses onto, and it's just a friction fitting. Let's see. I can't like dildo. Not safe for work, folks.
Oh my.
But and these don't even show you.
I thought one had a thingy in it.
There's that. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's a realistic version, but all that does is go in there and it fits inside that space. And
Okay.
so, like I said, I don't think it's a problem that needs to be solved.
Because physics does that.
Mm-hmm.
Physics does that already for us
Mm-hmm.
in the experiments that we've done.
Yeah. It's
just making sure that your press fit is precise enough to where it's not going to slip out, but not so constricted that somebody like me with El Cripple fingers wouldn't be able to
and actually
do the swirly.
I figured out, I solved that problem for you, by the way. Baby powder. You put baby powder on the connection, and it slips right in real easily. It's nice and snug, but then it pulls out real easily as well.
Put it on the male end or the female end?
Either,
Okay.
but it's easier to put on the male end.
Yeah, because if you put it on the female end, it might like chalk up at the bottom.
Yeah.
Chunk up.
But yeah, it's for strap-ons.
Yeah, it's for strap-ons.
Let's see.
Yeah, I was like, is this what once I saw the picture, I was like, yes, this is exactly what I was thinking about, but putting like notches in it so it's almost like it clicks in place. I don't need it to click in.
No.
Yeah. If it's if it's a universal attachment, I can see why that's needed, but if it's something you make specifically for your product, then you should be able to adjust it to the correct sizing.
And the thing is that, I mean, the silicone, when I tested it, the silicone without any ridges or anything on the inside was snug enough that if you're able to pull that off with your body parts, besides your hands, if you can pull it off no hands,
then I salute you.
Yeah.
Because I have problems opening anything with my hands. I've gotten better lately, but yeah, I get to be the ADA tester.
Yeah, she doesn't have a whole lot of hand strength.
They call it my special hamster grip.
Yeah, it's not a kung fu grip; it's a hamster grip.
And not in a proportionate kind of way, like in an actual hamster grip kind of way.
Yeah.
Okay, how do you
How do you get a matte finish on your toys? It depends on how matte you want it to be. If you want just kind of a basic matte finish that is fairly smooth, but that still doesn't look shiny, when you do your sanding and you're finishing on your masters, don't go to the point where you're creating a polished finish. Just go up to about 800 about a 800 grit sandpaper, and that'll be smooth enough but still give you a matte texture. If you've got something that already has a glossy finish on it, then you can actually coat the surface of your master with baby powder, and that'll create a matte texture for you.
Finish. Yeah,
matte finish.
Texture something else, because you also did something texturizing before that actually made it more of a matte finish. What was that you did?
That was the third option, which is to take your master mold and coat the inside of it with baby powder. And you do that.
Wait, the second one was baby powder where?
On the master.
On the master.
The positive master.
Okay. So
like
this, if this were the... Okay.
And you would coat it with baby powder and then make your silicone mold of it. The third option is once you've got your mold made and it has a high polish, then you can coat the inside of it with...
The female end.
The female side of it, yeah. The negative is...
I do lighting as well, so, I understand with electrics, like, the female end is what male end plugs into.
But, yeah, you can coat the inside of your molds with baby powder. It takes a fair amount of cleanup afterward because the baby powder will kind of embed itself into the surface of the silicone. But once you can run it through the dishwasher and it'll clean it all up.
Well, also that's a more temporary option than coating the master with the baby powder. Just like when we've worked with screen printing, and we've done laser cuts of adhesive, of vinyl adhesive to make a temporary screen, as opposed to burning it into the screen.
Yeah.
So that last option is the laser cut kind of.
It's the
equivalent.
Yeah, it's the version that gives you the most flexibility, but it does require more cleanup at the end.
Yeah, but it, in addition to giving a matte finish to the product, it also gave a really interesting texture. It was still smooth, but in this sort of way that where you went, what's that? What's that about? Like I said, I'm very much on texture lately from.
And one of the things about texture, and as you bring up this idea of matte finish, one of the great things about matte finish is it grabs the lube really well, and it makes the usage a lot more enjoyable for some folks. We have another question from Drew. Could you apply a human skin texture on a 3D model design for an SLA print to get a live skin or a like skin for a matte finish? Yes, you could, but I'll tell you, here's the problem, is that the resolution of SLA printing, well, SLA, yeah, even with SLA, let me back up. SLA printing is resin printing. It's real high resolution 3D prints.
It's the kind of stuff that you can use to make like figurines for tabletop gaming and things like that.
Yeah, it's real high resolution. Even then, you still have artifacts, and you still have layer lines, and you still have to go back and do finishing on it, which entails sandpaper and all of these other things. So yes, you could apply a human skin texture, but you're going to lose a lot of that through the SLA printing process, and even more of it through the finishing process. So, first last. Thanks, that's really helpful. I cast my first dildo a few days ago. Awesome.
Yay!
and it came out way too glossy. Really appreciate it. What you
Trial
use?
and error.
Yeah, what you use for your finishing process? I'd be curious to know. And let me know. Yeah, I'm kind of curious what you use for your finishing. What did you use, a 3D printer, or did you do it with clay?
On the other hand,
'cause-
congratulations for learning how to make a very glossy finish.
Yeah, glossy
You have
is
learned
not
a
easy.
lesson.
Yeah. Brainflex, yeah. Not if you get Stratasys, they have a very microscopic layer line. You just still find them. You still find them.
Picky, 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 picky.
Yeah. I mean, I was printing at 10 microns, which, to give you a sense of, that is 1/100th of a millimeter. So you know, millimeter, and divide that into 100, and that was my layer height. I was still getting layer lines. So,
And then I look like a shaman when you're bringing an experiment to me, where I'm like breathing on it to see how the temperature changes. I'm got it with my.
you close your eyes.
I immediately close my eyes as soon as it goes into my hand. I close my eyes, because I want to take away some of that sensory input first, like not just for the texture of it, but feeling the weight distribution, the balance of things. I have caught on to some of his flaws before with nothing but touch. And that is because female skin is usually, when you are born with the markers, with female chromosomal markers, you usually
I don't know
have
how to.
sensitive skin. How do we say that in a...
I know.
Yeah.
I come from a generation of very binary.
Yeah.
Even though I have.
So depending on
transposed.
whether your
know.
chromosomes say XX,
Not even that, because
or I know because there's so many, whether they are dominated by XX or XY, let's say, or some combination, your chromosomal markers can affect your sense of feeling in your skin. We'll just put it that way. Your chromosomal markers that you are born with can have an effect on how sensitive you are to touch.
yeah, and
This is me, and I'm like, I'm not PC, I don't give a shit. But see, this is me being intentional and being like, okay, well, what I mean is there are certain things that are...
I have trans folks who are in my family, and through stories that I have heard, they have interesting changes in the way that their skin feels,
Right.
what they can feel, and how they sense things.
Right.
As
Their
they get through
sensory
that.
perception changes as they have like affirmation through surgery or hormones. So that is something I always keep in mind. So for me, although your texture sensory is pretty good, like mine is just a little different than yours. So I have been able to feel flaws in a product just from touching it with my eyes closed, which is weird. And it's partly because he's just training me to be so picky.
Let's see. Happen to know one who has I think you're talking about a Stratasys. Yeah. If I remember correctly, the Stratasys machines are fairly expensive, though. They're not what most folks are going to have either at home or in their studios.
Even like entrepreneurial types.
If I remember correctly, they're going to start at about 10 or 20,000.
Holy pee! So
Yeah.
once you are a bit further along in your economic development, then sure.
There was the one object. Oh, I can't remember. Objet. The Objet system. When that first came out, it was $100,000,
Holy pee!
and I think they're down to about 20,000 now.
Oh my!
I think Stratasys is kind of in that same category. But I haven't looked them up. But the stuff that you're going to find, your FDM printers, your SLA printers, that are kind of either the consumer or prosumer, the prosumer levels, they're... What? Yes, prosumer is a thing.
What? Please, please,
It's
define
that,
prosumer.
that category. There's consumer, and then there's professional, and then in between there is the prosumer.
Is that the hobbyist, or is that the boutique level micro business?
That would be more micro business.
Okay.
They're designed for folks who are actually doing it for a living, but not to the extent that they can make a living directly from it.
Yeah.
That it's a part of their business, or it's a part of their design process.
Okay.
But yeah,
Prosumer.
prosumer.
This is like mompreneurs. Or these words that you. Oh my gosh. I can't keep up. I can't keep. What else we got?
Brand Flake's talking about the Stratasys systems.
Oh, you have to take a class, and you have to be there in person, and you be like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I ain't got time for that. I'm lazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only in certain cities, I'm sure.
You know what's funny is that we've got the most people on the stream right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that has happened within the last 20 minutes.
Oh, that's funny. Was there a time change?
No.
Okay.
But it's like, we go at it for an hour before anybody actually shows up.
Well, we were boring them.
Yeah, we
We're
were.
exciting now. One city. Holy, yeah, no. Oh, and look at that. Happy Father's Day. What did Fiona and Kai get you?
No, nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing. A hairball.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah. So, what do you think? I mean, what do you think of this format? Just you and I kind of talking and answering questions.
I mean, I'm okay. I don't know if you want to do it every time or something, but
Why not?
there will be nights that I'm not here. I will be definitely making some. Is somebody? Oh, people are talking. I will be making some appearances. I'm like, people are talking to us on the Twitters. Yay. Then there'll be nights I have shows and things like that. We do see this is from the last one.
Yep. Now, the last show you did had to do with Black Wall Street. Now, just some context here. We live in Tulsa, which was the site of the 1921 race massacre.
Mm-hmm. If you are from an elder generation, you may have heard of it as the
Tulsa race riots. Yeah.
But most people haven't even heard of it until the last year or so.
Yeah. And it was kind of a dark spot in the city's history that
they dropped bombs on U.S. citizens on U.S. soil.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
Yeah. And destroyed, at the time, probably about half the city. Maybe a third of the city.
It was over 40. It was about 40 square blocks.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, it was.
This was 1921.
So it was a small city, but they destroyed possibly the most successful district in the city.
Yeah.
So this is what I talk about. Yeah, I went to see a show on, and it's the centennial of that this year because this is 2021, and it was May 31st and June 1st. And May 31st is when it started. June 1st is when they dropped the bombs. So this has been a pretty exhausting month. We've both participated in activities, supporting things, stuff like that. The show that I went to see last night was actually written by a direct descendant of people who lived in Greenwood at the time, who, her bloodline still exists, and some people's doesn't.
Yeah.
Gosh, we're bummers now.
If you go back in the Watchmen series on HBO,
yeah,
series
and
season 1, episode 1, it
what's
opens
the
up.
Cthulhu one? Lovecraft Country also has a whole episode about it.
Okay, and then so episode 1, the opening scenes, if I remember correctly, were Tulsa race riots from 1921.
Filmed in what city? I'm not going to say.
Yeah,
Wasn't here.
Wasn't here.
No. None of the stuff they've filmed has been here. That's the odd part.
And Lovecraft Country has a whole episode about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not filmed here.
Let's
God,
see.
that was a little salty of me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There was the riots in Detroit in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And,
I'm not saying that Tulsa was, you know,
it wasn't unique.
It's not unique. But it's a very visible portion of that history.
I think the dropping bombs from airplanes is probably one of those things that was like, whoa. But you know,
actually, there's still foundations of houses over there by the campus, the university campus.
And there's something called the Stairs to Nowhere, where the house got destroyed again later on after Green was rebuilt, and they just haven't built anything since there, and nobody will. They're just leaving the steps. Greenwood was rebuilt and was huge and very successful once again. Sorry about the history lesson. I'm such a bummer.
We both have degrees in history. Well, yeah, do we? I have a minor
and
in
I
history.
have history, and then I have behavioral science and sociology, and so the fact that I can't keep up with, like, you know, cultural lingo anymore, despite studying like sociology and behavioral science, that just tells you it's so confusing. I can't keep up. I can barely keep up with the laundry.
So what do you think of the format? I mean, well, we're talking about the format, but also things that you've been working on, and now you have actually some free time.
I do, for at least a few weeks.
So, so it might be able to bring you on a little bit more and make it a little bit more conversational.
Yeah. And, you know, you can always bring me on remotely, too.
Yeah, we can do that.
I don't want to do Zoom, no. I don't know. We're all zoomed out. Like, we had a year and a half of Zoom. I'm done.
But when I bring on other makers, we'll have to do that through Zoom.
Yeah.
And maybe I can bring you in as well.
Yeah, for sure. I don't mind, video conferencing on nights, because, like, I'm going on a vacay with my BFF so we can eat a lot of food. And I can grub out about that, having to apologize. And we can preserve the romance this way. You won't have to see how much food girls eat when you're not around.
Yeah. So I will leave it open for a few questions while we kind of wrap up. If there's any burning questions that anybody might have. And let us know
if
what
it's
you think
burning, get it treated.
And let us know what you think of this format, because I'm totally open to experimentation and trying different things and seeing what people enjoy.
You still want me on the keyboards? We have George.
I know we might have to figure out a way to.
Yeah, I'll have to have a keyboard in front of me so that I can just keep, like, then I have to just have my glasses on all the time. Like, Those riots in the head. I mean, that is sarcasm. LOL. Oh, I know. Yeah. There are riots everywhere now. Yeah, you know, that way we can have all of the things going on all of the screens. And, like, really, I have to get some gels to like me. I have a technical director who can. I know.
Forget that light.
Why are you covering up the camera?
Oops. Sorry.
And now it's like super bright
yeah.
in my eyes. See?
Yeah.
No. I have a technical director who can fix this for us.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about, as far as the future goes, I'm thinking about bringing in. Well, I want to do guests every couple of weeks, and maybe that means bringing you in on the off weeks, so we alternate between you and guests. I'm also thinking about other platforms that we can use, whether it's Clubhouse, Green Room.
I do want to do a Clubhouse together.
Okay.
Because I was listening, you were listening to one, and I was sneaky behind you and listening to it.
Yeah.
And I said it was really cool because there's no text, it's all audio, and it is really like listening to a party line.
It can be.
It feels like you're getting invited to eavesdrop.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but there's also Twitter Spaces. So all of the different platforms have their own kind of social audio platforms now.
What are you talking about? It's a social media platform, but it's audio only, and right now it's very sort of cloistered and
it's very
provincial.
Yeah. You have to have an invite to even get
Invoice.
yeah. You have to have an invite to even get access, and then it's still fairly limited. They just added. It's been up for a year now. Clubhouse has been up for over a year. And they just added Android in May.
Okay, because I got the Clubhouse and it was at the end of May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it at the beginning of May.
Oh. Okay. There's another question from Drew about SLA.
Well, yeah, we'll come back to that in a minute.
Okay.
But there's all the different platforms, Clubhouse, and then there's Twitter Spaces, which is the same thing.
Is it an audio space?
Uh-huh.
I haven't tried Twitter Spaces yet.
And just to give you an idea of what it is, it's just audio only. There's no text. Although there's also now Fireside, which has a text chat category or section of the room as well. But they're all audio only chat systems or social media platforms. And the other thing about them is that they are live.
Yeah.
Is that there's nothing recorded about them.
And you can't go and listen to one later.
No.
No. So it's not like with podcasting. Okay.
It's a live, interactive.
It's a conversation with a human being
On a one-to-one day. Well, it can be one-to-one.
On like a small basis.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to use the words I want. I keep thinking it in terms of synchronous and asynchronous. And I know that doesn't mean anything to
asynchronous would be like video messages you're leaving.
Text messages. Text messages are asynchronous.
Why?
Because you can read it at any time.
That's what I say, video messages you leave for people.
You can do video messages.
Like Marco Polo is asynchronous a lot of times.
Yes, it is asynchronous. But a telephone call is synchronous.
Right.
Because we have to...
Because it's think that. Synchronicity.
Yeah.
See more Latin. Google it, kids.
So Drew had the question, have you tried elastic resins for SLA masters? Could those be sealed with more elastic sealant that I am not aware of? I will say that there's no reason to go with a elastic resin because this is going to be a master that you're going to make make a mold of. And you don't want any kind of floppiness in your master. And also, depending on your infill, you can, if you don't have a very solid infill, you can compress your master if it's elastic. And here's Fiona again.
Beatster!
And you don't want to have any distortion in your master when you make your molds. So I wouldn't personally lean towards the elastic resins or the rubber resins, I guess they're also called. I wouldn't lean towards those. They don't bring anything to the table. I've heard you talk
about rubber resins before.
Yeah, they don't really bring anything to the table that solves a problem for you.
Are they more expensive?
Yes.
Okay. There you go.
Yep.
We're trying to save you some money. And as always, if we recommend a product or something, Fifi's sitting in my lap. She usually only loves Derek. If we talk about products, if we recommend anything, we are not receiving any endorsements. We told you the 2 partnerships that we're in with Rodeo and Uberlube, and we have our own partnerships with them. But part of the reason we do is because we liked those products to begin with. And we talked and went, yeah, this is a good fit together. No pun intended. But if he talks about supplies that he likes, brands of sealants, or epoxies or anything like
specific
that.
3D printers or anything else.
This is not something that we have been paid to talk about. This is not something we're going to force you to, we're going to say, you have to get this or you suck. This is just personally what's worked best in our studio for our purposes. Sometimes you know, like you get a vibe for the filament and you're like, yeah. And we have both, honestly, because we find different uses for each of them.
Yeah, I actually have an SLA printer. I have a FDM printer. I have certain filaments that I like. I have certain resins that I like. And it's just because I like the way that they have the properties that I want for the project that I'm working on. And that just means that they work for my projects. Doesn't mean that they're the best for anybody else.
Right.
So,
I like crossword puzzles. Some people like Scrabble.
I like Sudoku.
Sudoku.
That thing.
Sudoku. So do I. Some people like jigsaw puzzles. Some people like slide puzzles. It's just what's your vibe. We do like to make recommendations on equipment and products to people starting out, and also let them know which ones we've tried that have been epic fails for our purposes. So the question about the gloss versus the matte, that was actually a really cool question to get.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that. There was like, here's what we've tried here, and you always have options, because when we run into this, we've usually done a few different trial and error things so that we can screw up so you don't have to.
Innovation is messy. To go back to something we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
But those are things I'm working on, things I'm thinking about. You know, having guests, having you on. Some of the more technical projects in terms of vacuum lock and vibrators.
I'm the color commentary, right?
Yeah. You just sit there and look pretty. Although I have better hair.
Whatever. Oh my god, you used to.
Yeah, it's kind of long now.
Now I have the X-Men hair.
Yeah. So with that, I'm thinking we'll probably wrap it up here, and we'll come back and do this again next week.
But we want your opinion. Is there an email link on your website that they can send to?
Yeah.
Ding ding.
On the website, which the website is getting hammered right now. There's been a lot of traffic on it, and I think it's kind of...
We're going to have to upgrade with 2 Ds.
Yeah.
Upgrade. He just sees it as an opportunity to buy more gadgets. I'm okay with it.
But if you go to the website, and at the very top of the screen, depending on if you're mobile or if you're on a desktop. If you're on a desktop, it's at the top of the screen. There's a link that says contact / influencer / affiliates. And you can contact us through there. If you're on mobile, I think there's a drop-down menu on the left-hand side, and there will be a contact button, and you can go through there.
So you can send us questions on there. You can send us your opinion. You can say, no, much less George, please. Or Derek needs to switch to, I don't know, it didn't smell bad. It just smelled like Werther's, this Tuwaka stuff.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you can send us a joke or whatever. Twitter. All of our handles are all Amavidi, AMAVIDI, except for...
Everything except for Twitter. Well, actually, TikTok is Amavidi. Twitter is Amavidi. Instagram is amavidi.studios.
Oh, that's the one.
Facebook is also amavidi.studios.
Okay. If you go in and search Amavidi on any of them,
if you search for Amavidi, you'll find us.
Yeah, most of them, our preferred handle is Amavidi.
Yeah. All right. So parting is such fond farewells, or such sweet. I don't know. There's a. What was that Willy Wonka line? At the end.
Where it's fancy bread, in the heart or in the head?
No, it was. Parting is such sweet sorrow. That's what it was.
thought you were gonna say. I heard you like such farts, Morrow.
No.
Auditory
Yeah.
processing disorder. It comes in handy for humor.
The parting is such sweet sorrow. Da 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 da. I think he stole that from somebody.
Shakespeare, perhaps.
Was that Shakespeare?
Oh yeah, that's R&J, dude.
Oh.
Derp. Derpy,
Yeah.
derpy boyfriend. Hey.
All right, I'm wrapping it
Okay.
up. Oh, the
What
music
is it?
dropped out. We lost the music.
Thanks for this stream.
Where's the music?
Oh my gosh. Plus the help was busy, but definitely we'll watch next time.
Yep.
Yay! Okay, we'll see you guys soon.
We totally, absolutely are happy to answer questions. So, yeah, drop them in and send them by direct message on Twitter,
Yeah.
and we'll work them into the next episode.
Send us a Facebookie. Any of the messages. We get the messages.
Yeah. So then I have this thing that I go to here.
Okay,
And-
bye.
Okay, the mics are still on.
Okay.
So